aides have hit back at Meghan Markle ahead of her tell-all television interview with Oprah Winfrey by revealing that she faced complaints about her alleged bullying behaviour from advisers during her time at Kensington Palace.
So, is she a victim? Or do these complaints stack up? Joining us now is journalist Ella Whelan, who says Meghan just wants people to feel sorry for her. And businesswoman and Apprentice finalist Joanna Jarju, who says Meghan has been victimised since she started dating Harry. And the royal editor at the Mail on Sunday, Emily Andrews, joins us as well. I mean, frankly, I feel exhausted about this whole row, even before we've started. But Emily Andrews, what do you make of the revelations today in the Times and the complaints about Meghan's behaviour?
Well, they're pretty incendiary, aren't they? The Times is saying that Meghan was a bully, that they have evidence of current staff and former staff who felt bullied by her. A complaint was made by a senior aide at Kensington Palace of Meghan and Harry's to the institution about Meghan being a bully, bullying her personal assistants, and nothing was done. Meghan obviously would say that she was a great boss and that she always looked after the staff in her care, but these claims ahead of that tell-all interview on Oprah on Sunday night are pretty explosive.
Well, they are pretty explosive. Let's go to Joanna Jarju. I mean, you're the case for the defence. You know, Meghan has spent a long time telling us what a victim she's been, but you look at this and the allegation is that her own bullying drove two young female assistants out of the palace. A source says there were a lot of broken people, young women, broken by their behaviour, Meghan and Harry. The source described one member of staff as completely destroyed. They've apparently signed non-disclosure agreements, which doesn't sit very well with Meghan's claim that all women should be allowed to have their voice. In light of these allegations, not in a tabloid, but in the Times today by Valentine Low, who's a very good, respected journalist, are you rethinking your view, or do you think that Meghan is still the victim here?
I do think that Meghan is still the victim. I think that we've seen more examples and more explicit examples of Meghan being the victim throughout her relationship with Harry and ever since it was announced that she was dating him, you know, to the extent where he had to even put out a statement telling the press and telling people to calm down, basically, in the way that they were referencing her. And even recently, we've seen an example again of Meghan being a victim with the court ruling of where she's won the court case against the press. I think it's very convenient now that, you know, 2 years ago it was reported that two aides had apparently left Meghan's employment because, you know, they had a problem with that. But now all of a sudden it's called bullying. I think it's very convenient given that the Oprah interview.
Yeah, but you have seen, I presume, from the piece who made the allegations. It's come from their own communications chief. It's not come from the papers. This was in an email from their own communications chief at the time to a man, Simon Case, who is now the cabinet secretary of the UK government. This is serious stuff. And it was apparently sort of shoved under the carpet. And the victims of the alleged bullying were made to sign non-disclosure agreements. Now, you know, this is all reported in the Times, but it's come originally from emails sent by their own communications chief, who was appalled by the alleged bullying that he witnessed himself. He was their guy.
Look, I think all allegations of bullying obviously should be taken seriously, but I also think that when we look at this and when we look at the narrative of what's being painted with Meghan, it is something that has been set up very conveniently. You know, if this had been an allegation about any other member of the royal family, I think people would have been a lot more shocked, you know, that something like that had been made. If this had been made about the Duchess of Cambridge, for example, but because it's Meghan Markle and a specific narrative is being made associated with her, it is very kind of believable now. And like I say,
well, no, it's not. I'm sorry to pick you up on that again, but these allegations haven't been made against the Duchess of Cambridge. They were made by Meghan Markle's own communications chief, and he said in his email, "I'm very concerned that the Duchess was able to bully two PAs out of the household in the past year. The treatment of X," doesn't name the person, well, it probably does, but doesn't name it in the paper, "was totally unacceptable." He added in the email The Duchess seems intent on always having someone in her sights. She is bullying Y and seeking to undermine her confidence. We've had report after report from people who've witnessed unacceptable behaviour towards Y. The email also expressed concern about the stress being experienced by Samantha Cohen, who was the couple's private secretary, concluding, I questioned if the household policy on bullying and harassment applies to principals. The complaint was sent to HR. However, one source said, I think the problem is not much happened with it. It was, how can we make this go away? Now, let's go to Ella Whelan. This doesn't sit very well. I mean, yesterday I got sent a copy of the checklist from Archewell Foundation, which was, I think I've got it here, which was Meghan's directive to all of us on how we should behave on International Women's Day on Monday. This month, she wrote, let's unleash a groundswell of real acts of compassion for the women in your life. She demanded support for women. Help a woman be at her best. Reach out to a woman looking for employment. Support safe spaces for women. Now we see in the Times that her own communications chief accused her directly in emails to senior palace staff of bullying 2 young female PAs out of the palace.
Well, I'm glad you brought up International Women's Day because I think it's relevant. I mean, it originally set up by, or thought of by Clara Zetkin, who was a German Marxist. And then the reason why the 8th of March is important is because that was in 1917, the time at which the women's strike played a part in bringing down the Tsar during the Russian Revolution. So the idea that we would then be having sympathy for or showing solidarity with an ex-duchess in relation to International Women's Day, formerly International Working's Women's Day, is a bit sickening. I mean, anyone who's watched The Crown recently, partly fictional as it is, knows that there's a huge amount of stuff that goes on behind the scenes in relation to the palace. I as much believe that Meghan Markle could be, maybe not a bully, but, somewhat of a tyrant, as much as I believe that the Crown and the palace wants revenge. The point is, why should women, in particular, care about this and care about Meghan Markle, someone who is now a celebrity giving interviews with Oprah in bed from the comfort of her home in Beverly
Let me put something to you, which is that this complaint was made back in October 2018. We're now in March 2021. The timing of bringing this up is clearly a fight back against Meghan by royal aides. The couple's lawyers have told The Times that The Times is being used by Buckingham Palace to peddle a wholly false narrative. I mean, these are obviously allegations that need to be taken very seriously, but it doesn't silence Meghan Markle from also expressing her experience.
No, the people who've been silenced are the female PAs who got bullied out of the palace.
She has a legitimate voice as well.
Yeah, what about the legitimate voice of these 2 female PAs who've been silenced by NDA agreements?
You can say that bullying should be taken seriously in the abstract, but I really reject the idea that anyone should be really should care that much about the dirty goings on of what happens in, as to mention The Crown again, of what happens in Buckingham Palace and their aides. I mean, this is life. This is what happens in this institution, which I think the more Harry and Meghan play up to this kind of celebrity role, has a hand in crumbling. I mean,
that's a very interesting point you make there, because that's always been, Emily Andrews, that's always been the concern of the Queen, and the reason she doesn't like the members of the royal family playing the celebrity circus game or giving endless interviews is it chips away at the mystique of the monarchy. And she's very acutely aware in most of the rest of the parts of the world, monarchies have gone. It's only here, really, that we still continue to revere our monarchy because the Queen herself is just such an exemplary figurehead. But, we look at all of this again at the backdrop of Prince Philip, aged 99, in his 3rd week of hospital treatment, being moved to a heart specialist hospital because of concerns for his health. It's just, you just think, could there be a more inappropriate time for all this to be blasting out in public?
Well, indeed. I mean, I think there's a couple of issues here. It's quite problematic for Meghan to go on, and Harry to go on American TV on Sunday night US time, early hours of the morning UK time, and say they were victims and they were bullied by both, the British press, the British people, the British country, the institution and the monarchy. And now you've got these claims that in fact Meghan is not on quite the pedestal that she put herself on as the amazing boss. You're right, the royal backdrop, the timing couldn't be worse. Prince Philip has been in hospital now for the longest time he's ever been. I mean, he is seriously unwell. The Queen is getting on with her duty. I mean, we see a very direct contrast to the whole kind of showbiz soap opera, which is that on Monday, as well as being International Women's Day, it's Commonwealth Day, one of the most important dates in the Queen's calendar. Obviously, she can't go to Westminster Abbey as she normally would do to celebrate Commonwealth Day. So instead, the BBC are putting on a programme on Sunday evening.
It's going to be the prime time battle, isn't it? We've got to leave it there. It's going to, we can all reconvene on Monday, can't we, when we've actually heard what they have to say. But this Times story, I think, gives a very different insight into what may have been going on and who exactly was bullying who. Thank you to our panel. We appreciate it.
Joanna, Ella and Emily, thank you very much indeed.